Hey guys, wanted to make a quick retro video here as I found this deck or sort of like built it during the Atlanta regional and I realized this is probably like one of the better ways to get into the retro format for a few reasons. One of which this character is not that complex. Um, but the second one is that it's using a like archetype, which is combined firepower mill that we see in standard currently. So like you can like pick that up and run with it pretty easily if you understand how that works in standard. And then the third one is that you're playing a lot of good death staples and it's pretty cheap. Like all of this stuff is under $5, I want to say. There might be a couple things that are like 6. I'll do my best to get into them as we go. Um, but yeah, so to kind of show off this character and deck and what I'm going for here, Yusuke does a couple things as a seven-hander. The first is remove a card from your discard with Spirit in its name. So we are stuck to the Spirit package, but as you'll see, like that's an upside with this character for sure. So that enhance gives 2 damage and also triggers combined firepower. So we love that. The other one is a once per turn that says the next time you try and play a card, it gets -1 difficulty or -1 to its block mod for each symbol it shares with your character. If you didn't know, block mods can go negative, which is really nice because, for example, this card becomes a -3 low. So you can kind of just play very good fundamental universes with this character and then turn around and just one-shot your opponent, as we'll see. So to go into the attacks, this deck is built around Spirit Shotgun. And again, this card was fairly expensive, but was reprinted in the Dark Tournament set. You'll see that as a common theme with with a couple of these cards here, and that makes this way more accessible. So Spirit Shotgun, I like to think of this as Retro's focused attack. This card says if it's completely blocked, it still deals half damage rounded up. It gets +1 damage for each printed resource symbol in a card pool that shares a resource symbol with your character. So all of these spirit attacks match 3 symbols with Yusuke, as we'll see. So each of them gives, not this one, but the others give 3 damage. So in that way, it's kind of akin to Spirit Shotgun. And then it has Deadlock, Destroy 3 rival foundations. Spirit Shotgun commits 3, or sorry, Focused Attack commits 3, but similar kind of ideas here. So what we're trying to do is we are trying to Spirit Shotgun them for double their life total and say, sure, you can block this. It's still going to kill you, but you can block it. Um, so with Yusuke, the 5 diffs become effectively 2 diffs, so you can throw it later in a chain, or you can start with it. Doesn't super matter. But you kind of like throwing this when you have some additional damage you can get by like from counting symbols from previous attacks in your card pool, which is like that's like the old Yusuke idea. We are trying to tag on an additional 20, 30 damage via the combined firepower package, as you'll see. So to go over his other attacks quickly, Spirit Gun is great at answering foundations. It has Yusuke Enhanced Destroy a Rival Foundation. Uh, Stats are pretty good. 5 mid 6 that can you can pick the zone if you want. This is also reprinted, so it is cheap. Um, Spirit Charge Punch. Another reason that I think this deck is great for beginners in Retro is you get to play with a reversal. And it's not super important to your kit, but you get to try out the mechanics, see how it feels. You're not like overloaded with reversal stuff, but you do have one, so you have access to it. Um, so reversals, if you don't know what they are on block, you get to respond reversal. You put the attack from your hand into your card pool, so it's not the card you're blocking with. And then you make a check to play it and perform an attack sequence on your opponent's turn. So that's why this has the next attack played this turn gets plus or -3. So when you reversal with it, you say your opponent's attack gets -3. If you want to, you can unload a bunch of combined firepowers on it. Say, hey, this is for 15. Do you want to put a card in your card pool to block it on your turn and then continue playing? Or are you just going to let me get away with a huge amount of damage for free? Um, but yes, this card was not reprinted, but it is uncommon, so it is cheap and easy to get. The last spirit attack is Spirit Charge Kick. This is in standard. It is in bulk bins. It's super easy to get. We love it because it is a low block with a 0, so it becomes -3 and can block functionally almost any low attack that they're going to throw at you. Moon Ritual Dance is a 7 speed move. This just blocks it on a 4 with Yusuke's once per turn. So great card. Um, Flame Aura is a really good defensive piece. I will say notably that like this deck could do a 2-2 split of like Flame Aura and Risky Encounters. I don't think you have to do that. If you have access to them, go for it. If not, this card is just amazing, and it's not really a kill card, but you have enough offense in this deck. Like you don't necessarily need to go the risky encounter route. So to talk about Flame Aura real quick, it reduces speed to 0 when you block with it, which is fantastic, and then it also burns your opponent for 1, both on block and if you're attacking with it and they block. And I believe it's under $1. Super easy to get. Okay, going into other stuff, we run Potato. I'll sort of explain the asset synergy in a bit here, but this cancels cards that would beat your deck, like Deliverance or I'll just say Referee Jury. Obviously, that's not a card that's played in Retro mainly, but it's any effects like that that would reduce the attack. Invincible Body, those are cards we need to interact with. So we have a foundation that does the same thing as this card, but we run this asset as well for a couple synergies that I'll point out later. This card is sold out in Rochester, but this card is convenient timing response without momentum, and we use a card that picks up an asset from our discard, so it's like a very nice defensive piece. You don't have to run this. If you don't have access to this, it's okay. It is a very good card against string decks, but like, at the end of the day, if you're just starting to try retro and you don't have access to Blood, Sweat, and Beers, it's not the end of the world. So in terms of actions, we are doing this avoiding conflict combined firepower stuff. These are just in the Challenger Series decks, so super easy to get. I want to point out that this is a reprint now in Dark Tournament, so it's cheap. And also, this card is just like a retro staple. So by picking these up for a couple dollars, you are just getting a card that will be in every retro deck you build on these symbols. Because this card just says cancel and destroy the card you're canceling, and then you also choose if you want to draw or remove it from your card pool. Like this action is insane. So the foundations, we have the AOT stuff here, obviously super easy to get. This is a common from Yu Yu Hakusho. It's just better Botan's coaching, which I find very funny given Botan's price and standard right now. This card is probably like $4 to $5 as it's a rare and it's very good. You don't necessarily need it, but yeah, this is probably a good one to buy. Like this is a retro staple, so overall, if we're not spending a lot on the other stuff, I think this is a fine purchase. Fueling up is also the same response as Potato, but it also burns them for 2, and this is a uncommon from Cowboy Bebop, so it's super cheap. This is a speed reset. It has a little bit of nice synergy. It's kind of like Feral Shriek, where it works with Voice of Reason to draw an additional card. But you don't have to run this. It's also like $1. It's fine. This card is like Seizing the Advantage and is also very cheap, probably under $1. This is our other zero diff. Again, super cheap. This card puts something into our card pool, which is one of the big synergies with Potato, is we can actually like discard the top 3, find a Potato, put it in, build into the Potato with its enhance, but it also adds 3 damage to Spirit Shotgun a lot of the time, which is really nice. This card is probably like $6 to $7, so it might be a bit of a pain. It is an additional spirit card. I don't think you necessarily need it, but the text on it is really good. And then this E-flip discard a card, add an asset, allows you to mill your deck, pick up Blood, Sweat, and Beers, and then block with it, which is quite nice. So a good synergy here, something maybe if you don't have access to right away, you can like upgrade to later. And again, this is another retro staple that is definitely worth spending $5-6 on if you're going to play this format a lot. And then the last card, shout out to Kevin Broberg for pointing this one out to me. This is an old card, but it is very, very cheap. And this card discards all combined firepowers from our card pool. So the first line on it is also useful, like destroying an asset can come up. There are a lot of broken assets in this format. But the discarding all combined firepowers, we typically have a couple ways of triggering them. So what we can do is like start a chain all the combined firepowers, use Descent, discard them all, use Yusuke's Enhance, +2, trigger all our combines again, and do them all again. As long as you're not, reviewing your deck, and then at that point you have to stop. But as a result, like your Spirit Shotguns are going to get massive, right? So that covers the deck. I have a few things inside here. I think this is like a $4 card. It's kind of like a decoy duplicate effect. I don't have them currently, as Rochester didn't have them, but it's a fine side card. You could run it. I have another Blood, Sweat, and Tears. This is like a $2 to $3 card, but it is a staple on these symbols, and it is really, really good. Like, um, this is the kind of card that we worry about reducing our Spirit Shotgun and why we main 5 effects that cancel this effect. Because this is just Jury at the damage step. Um, so it's extremely good. And I didn't include it, but the other card I would be sideboarding here is actually Try Gravity Beam. There are a couple. This is the only thing in our main board that we don't really cover. I think it's there are a couple effects in retro like this that say after you block an attack, that attack deals 1, or in Angel Discus's case, it's 0. Um, so these can happen from your. Well, this one blocks from your stage, so we actually have a main board answer because we run Descent. But Angel Discus is an attack that we block, or that they'll block from their hand with. So the only way to stop this really is Try Gravity Beam. Um, but fortunately for us, it's again in the Godzilla Challenger deck, so it's a super accessible card. So I think that pretty much covers the deck. Again, I think that if you're curious about retro, this is a great entry point because, your locals will probably just have some of these time shift cards in their binder if they played during the Yu Yu Hakusho, the Dark Tournament set. So you can kind of pick up most of that stuff, and then the commons are very accessible. And there are a couple like $4 to $5 cards like Dark Side of Karma where if you continue into retro, you'll be happy you have these cards. And then you're also experimenting a little bit with reversal. You're using some, very staple retro attacks like Spirit Shotgun and kind of getting a feel for the format without going like, I'm just gonna buy 60 cards that I've never played with before and just try them. And the other reason that I would recommend this over another budget deck, like I know Rando is pretty cheap as far as budget decks go, is this is running like the Death Symbol has access to things like Toguro Brothers that are just very important defensive pieces. So you get to play the format a bit more, I think. Like Chaos, the only thing that comes to mind is Out of Your League, and that card is not super cheap and is not as good as Toguro Brothers. So if you play that deck, there will be times where you just combo off your opponent, and then other times where you get stopped and feel like you can't do anything. I think this deck has the tools to break through a lot of walls because you're canceling things, you're stopping damage resets, you are blowing up assets, you're sealing foundations. There's like a lot of interaction here that can force through that Spirit Shotgun. And then you also get the serotonin of sending this giant move for I think I got mine to like 45 damage when I first tried it. You can probably go bigger. But yeah, that's the gist of this deck. I'm not sure it's all perfect or whatever. I just thought that it would be cool as like hey, this is a new player's experience getting into retro and something I found that seems to work decently. So definitely open to input or whatever. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.